My sister stole my child's first steps, then tried to make it all about her own kid's milestone. And if that sentence already makes your stomach tilt, welcome to the exact moment I realized motherhood wasn't just diapers and lullabies, it was crowd control. I'm Lena, 34, a physical therapist who spends her days coaxing knees and hips into bravery and my nights learning that tiny humans will sabotage your theories with a dimple. I teach patients how to weight shift and plant their feet before standing. I didn't expect to need that same script for my family around my daughter's babyhood, but here we are. It happened on a Sunday that had the audacity to be beautiful. Light like poured milk, a backyard that smelled like basil, my daughter Ivy toddling around furniture like a honeybee memorizing flowers, and the whole family invited because I'm a softie who thinks village is a verb. My sister Marla, 31 and talented at many things including making any room feel like it owes her applause, arrived early with her son Theo strapped to her chest like a victory. Theo is 6 months older than Ivy and has cheekbones that will break hearts someday. Also, he learned to walk at 10 months and the family decided this made him an astronaut. Good for him. I love Theo. I love his gummy grin. I do not love the economy my family has built where milestones are currency and my sister is the central bank. We were setting out fruit when Ivy did that thing she'd been practicing all week, let go. One hand, then both, her little squat turned into standing and then, God, the bravery of it, a step. If you've never watched a baby commit to physics, it's like watching a tiny person write a poem to gravity. She wobbled, found her center, took another step toward me because that's my whole job apparently, to be a crash mat with hair. I held my breath. Behind me, I heard the rustle of a phone, the inhale of a gasp pressed into a camera. Look at her, my mom shouted from the patio. Lena, she's Ivy. I squealed, which is a sound I didn't know I could make, and opened my arms. She took a third step, then pitched forward into me like the world was ready to catch her. We laughed. We cried. It was one of those glowy, stupidly perfect seconds where the universe winks. And then the universe put on lipstick and said, "Enter Marla." She was on my left with her phone in portrait mode, already narrating for an audience. "Oh my God, you guys, she's walking at Auntie's house," she crowed, panning like a sports commentator. I didn't mind the filming. I minded that when Ivy took a fourth half step between my knees and my chest and we all shouted, Marla spun her camera to Theo, who was chewing on a wooden train unimpressed by physics, and said, "And remember when you were doing this at 10 months? You were so quick. We couldn't keep up. Actually, should we tell them your new word? Can you say ball? Say ball, baby." My dad chuckled politely because he's old-school Midwestern and believes you never leave applause unwon. My mom hummed a nervous hum because she knows something about Thunderdome when brothers and sisters share oxygen. I kissed Ivy's hair and said, "My girl," into her scalp, which is the safest place to put joy. Marla thrust her phone closer. "Say ball for Nana," she insisted, and Theo, who can say ball and taxes and subpoena if you ask him sweetly because he's a parrot with charm, blinked just as the neighbor's dog barked and looked off camera. "He's shy," she declared to the internet, then turned the phone back to Ivy. "First steps at Auntie Marla's," she sang. "At my house," I said gently, smiling, because I've read the books about use your inside voice even when your heart is outside your ribs. But the caption was already blooming in her head. I could see it like subtitles. "We caught Ivy's first steps at our place." Not a lie, not truth, just Marla. Ivy clapped her hands at her own bravery, and I decided to bake this memory into something gilded and irretrievable. "We're marking it," I said. Date, time, song playing, this must be the place, and who she walked to. I grinned at my partner, Aaron, who was crossing the lawn with iced coffees like a soldier bringing rations. He kissed Ivy's toes. He kissed my forehead. He did not post anything. He is my favorite part of my life. Marla slid her phone into her back pocket and plopped down next to my mother, grief and glitter warring in her face. "It's just crazy," she sighed theatrically, loud enough to be recorded by nearby clouds. "Theo was so fast. Remember? He ran before we were ready." My mother nodded, the nod of a woman who keeps all her children's stories organized by crisis. "We were exhausted," Mom said. "He was like a hummingbird." They laughed. Cute. Weird time. We ate, we cooed, we took turns walking with Ivy between our hands like she was a parade. Every 15 minutes, Mala announced a Theo highlight reel. He said truck last week. He can almost jump with 2 feet. He did stares at grandmas with no hands. Theo, to his credit, mostly attempted to share blueberries with ants and kept trying to feed me a leaf. After dessert, cake I made that tasted like a cloud fell in love with a lemon. We migrated into the living room to escape the sun. Ivy, drunk on success and sugar, crawled to the ottoman, hoisted herself, and stood swaying. I sat cross-legged a few feet away and whispered the holy bribe, "Come to me." She leaned forward, arms out, that astonished laugh babies do when they're thrilled by their own design, and took 3 more steps. My insides braided themselves into a bow. "Yes," I said, covering her cheeks with kisses like I was stamping a passport. Wait, Mala yelped, lunging with her phone. "I missed it, do it again." "Do it again for the video." She clapped at Ivy like you clap at a Labrador. Ivy, being a human not a performing seal, sat down, unimpressed by retakes. "She's done," I said, still smiling because I am polite to a fault. "We got it in our hearts." Mala rolled her eyes. "Not on the grid," she muttered. "What a waste." We did the rest of afternoon stuff, naps, coffee, my father showing Aaron his new drill like it was a baby, my mother cleaning as a love language she refuses to call love, and then I headed to the kitchen to box up leftovers for everybody because villagers need food. I was stirring mac and cheese in a container when I heard the telltale ping from the living room, the sound of 1,000 little validations arriving like pizza boxes. Mala's story, a boomerang of Ivy's wobbly stand cut with a clip from 3 months ago of Theo sprinting down my hallway, captioned with fireworks and, "We love milestones." #first steps, #babygenius, #proud auntie, #proud mama. The first comments were already stacking. "Just like Theo. He's such a leader. They must learn from each other." Theo did it first, and the one that hit my molars. "Your house must be so inspiring." My face went hot. The kind of hot that starts in your ears and tells you your body has decided not to be complicit in the erasure of your life. I took 3 slow breaths, the kind I teach my pelvic floor clients when they forget that exhaling means you get more air. I wiped my hands, walked into the living room, and sat on the arm of the couch near Mala. "Hey," I said, gentle. "Could you change the caption to at Lena's? It matters to me. She took her first steps here. In our home." Mala blinked like a cat woken from a nap it wasn't having. "It says we," she said. "We love milestones." "The part about your house must be so inspiring," I said. "People think I'm at your house. I know it's small. It just feels big in my head." She laughed in that dramatic, put-upon way. "Oh my God, Lena. People don't care whose house it is. It's the vibe. Can you relax? Don't make everything a thing." My mother made a soft, warning sound. She knows the weather patterns in this house. "It matters to me," I repeated, not louder, just more. First steps happened here. The place your child does something for the first time, it becomes part of the story. You know that. We all know that. Please change it." Mala stared at me with a look I've seen since middle school, the one that says you got earnest and I got bored. "You're so territorial," she said. "God. And then, you're literally a physical therapist. You help people walk. Doesn't it make sense that she'd do it at my house? It's a fun twist." "At my house," I said again, my voice now a plank. "My baby. My story. Change the caption." She sighed so hard I thought she'd lift off the couch. "Fine," she said, dragging fingers. "I'll tag you in the location." She typed. "Happy." The new geotag read, "Lena's LOL." The comments had already moved on to Theo. "Remember when Theo said ball at 9 months? A born athlete. Theo should be a coach. Theo's a natural." And then Mala added, "Haha, yes, he's always been so advanced," with sparkles. Something inside me clicked, the way a joint finds home. "I'm asking you to stop," I said, standing carefully so my anger wouldn't spill. Ivy is not Theo's supporting cast. Today was not about him. You hate Theo, she snapped, instant defense. I love Theo, I said honestly. I hate what you do with moments. Aaron came in then with Ivy on his hip and eyebrows up. We good? He asked in the tone of a man who will support you carrying a couch or a conversation. Just tell him which end to lift. We're talking about boundaries, I said. Cool, he said, planting a kiss on Ivy's curls. My dad wandered in, sensed a skirmish, retreated like a toddler. My mom sat down, folded her hands like a prayer nobody taught her. Everything has to be boundaries with you now, Marla sneered. You're mom for 5 minutes and suddenly you're Oprah? People post, Lena. People share joy. We all did. With Theo I posted like every day and everyone loved it. You never said a word. I did, I said, memory bright. Many times. I asked you to wait before posting his vaccinations, which is weird to make content. I asked you not to film him when he cried. I asked because kids deserve privacy and because not every moment is for the world. That's rich, she snapped. Miss Ethics. Miss Gentle Parenting. She made a puppet motion with her hand. We get it, you read books. I do, I said, refusing the poison. Also, I live in bodies. That's my job. I watch people relearn simple miracles and nobody claps. I clap quietly because the patient is the story. Not the therapist. Not the aunt. When did you become such a martyr, she scoffed. When I decided my daughter's first steps are not a marketing opportunity, I said, and the room did that inhale, that means the next thing matters. Theo smacked 2 blocks together and laughed. Ivy yawned like a cat. The thing about families is they will let a moment sizzle until someone flips it or burns. My mother, lovely, biased, exhausted, chose flip. Marla, she said, change the caption to @Lena and Aaron's. Remove the Theo clips. Let this be Ivy's. Her voice surprised all 3 of us. You have so many videos of Theo. We've all watched them. We will all watch more. Let your sister have her first. Marla's mouth fell open. So you on her side, she said to our mother, a 12-year-old reincarnated. Cool. I'm on the side of less noise, Mom said, and again surprise. I'm tired of being told by my daughters who to clap for. She turned to me. And you, she added, not done, you allowed to say stop without a speech. Shorter is sometimes stronger. Then she stood and left the room like an umpire who needed a sandwich. Aaron made a soft laugh sneeze. Your mom just told us both to use fewer words, he whispered. Should we consider it? Absolutely, I whispered back. Marla didn't change the caption. She deleted the story. Not a win, not a loss, just her favorite third option, scorched earth. Then she stood, hoisted Theo like a shield and said, we're going, and did, with my father pretending to have to carry out tinfoiled pasta to justify his exit as neutral. The house was slow quiet after they left. Ivy slept like wonder had tired her out. Aaron and I cleaned in little circles, the way you do when you need your hands to signal your brain that the world is still made of surfaces and predictability. I cried a little next to the dishwasher because rage has to exit somewhere and tears are decent plumbing. Aaron handed me a towel and the dignity of not narrating it. I caught the moment, he said, holding up his phone. Only for us. There it was, my girl's knees like ripe apples, my hands out, the teeter, the tilt, the launch, a 5-second sermon on becoming. That night, after Ivy fell asleep, I did triage. I texted Marla, I love you. I love Theo. Today hurt. Ivy's first steps happened here. Please don't post her moments without asking. Please don't turn Ivy into a compare and contrast. I don't do that to Theo. I won't let anyone do it to her. I wrote it like a discharge summary, concise, compassionate, clear. No, you always, no history lessons. She replied hours later, oh, okay. Guess we can't be excited anymore. I put my phone face down so my brain wouldn't keep waking up to the meme of my sister's flippancy. Aaron rubbed my calves while we watched a terrible show about baking disasters, and I let my body choose peace while my head rehearsed court cases I would never argue. You'd think that's the end. It's the middle. Because there is always a sequel when you try to pull a narrative from a journalist who believes she exclusively holds the press badge for your life. The following weekend was my niece's birthday, Marla's child number 2, sweet Junie, turning 3, a cupcake tornado in a tutu. We went. Of course we went. Family rule: show up with a gift and a boundary, leave with frosting in your hair and a new reason to drink water. The party was candy-coated chaos. Music loud enough to shake the thought from your teeth, kids sprinting like joy escaped, a bounce house that looked like a lawsuit. I strapped Ivy to me and stayed mostly near the snack table with the other parents who had reached the age of prizing pretzels over conversation. Marla floated, receiving compliments like returns on investment. "You do it so well," someone said, gesturing at the balloon arch Pinterest queen. Marla glowed. "She is good at making things adorable. She is less good at leaving them alone." At cake time, while everyone sang in 2 different keys, Theo climbed onto a chair and shouted, "Look at me," as 5-year-olds do at noise. Marla beamed and lifted her phone. "My boy," she cooed. Then, as if she had been waiting for the right audience for a week, she turned the phone to me and went live. Okay, she said to 100 strangers and our Aunt Tally in Omaha. "So last weekend Ivy kind of walked and we were so excited, but today Theo did something huge. I felt my chest go cold hot again." "Huge? What?" "Read. Cure eczema." She panned to Theo. "He peed in the potty," she announced, triumphant, pointing with a flourish to a tiny plastic throne in the hallway. Cheers. Laughter. "We're a potty house now," she sang. Everyone clap. #potty training, #mama life, #big kid. Her eyes flicked to me for the hit of reaction. My stomach rolled. I know. It's small. A kid's bodily function. But my whole body knew what she was doing with the scale, leveraging the loudness of her stage to drown out my quiet joy. Kids stumble along developmental highways any which way. Some sprint, some stroll, some detour, some invent hovercraft. Theo's pee was a milestone. Great. Clap in your kitchen. The part that scorched me wasn't the potty, it was the pattern. Make it about her. Make it bigger. Burn my moment for warmth. I stood and walked to the hallway and shut the bathroom door. I stared at the mirror and saw a woman who was calm for a living gripping a sink like she was learning to stand. I want to tell you I had a therapist's neat phrase locked and loaded. I did not. I had an old truth pounding: if I don't say stop, she will build a life out of consuming mine. I went back. I waved at Aaron, who immediately gave me his attention like he keeps it in his pocket ready for me. "Watch Ivy?" I asked. He nodded. I walked to Marla and said, quiet enough not to embarrass, loud enough to be heard over the band, "Turn it off." She tilted her head, empathy cosplay. "Babe, it's fine. It's just funny." "Turn it off," I repeated, the kind of repetition you use to break a spell. "I told you last weekend. I'm telling you now. No more sharing my kid without permission. No more using her moments as footnotes for yours." She chuckled, eyes glitter hard. "Boundaries Queen returns," she stage whispered into the live. "We love her." Laughter emojis cascaded. I leaned in so the camera couldn't see my mouth and said, "If you keep filming, I will leave. And tomorrow I will ask a lawyer what my options are." I didn't have a lawyer. I had 3 Google tabs open from breastfeeding at 2 a.m. But the shape of consequence matters. She dropped the phone. Not all the way. She's not a fool. But the performative edge drained. "You would never," she said. "You'd never do that to family." "You are doing this to family," I said. "You are taking small people's lives and selling them for likes. I'm asking you to stop. Stop making me the villain for saying the word no." My voice didn't shake. It rang. People nearby pretended we were talking about frosting. Aunt Tally took a big bite to prove her innocence. My mom, who had heard nothing but always feels the room like its barometric pressure, appeared. "What's going on?" she said, not a question. Marla rolled her eyes. "Lena hates fun." "Lena loves dignity," I said. Different thing. I turned and collected Ivy. We're leaving, I said to Aaron, who had already slung the diaper bag over his shoulder because life is easier when you share a religion. On the way out, my dad called after me. Text when you get home, because you can be complicated and still want to know if your people are safe. We got in the car. Ivy fell asleep before the second red light, like justice had wiped her out. Aaron drove with one hand on my knee. I'm proud of you, he said. I cried for 3 intersections, then I laughed because of a billboard that accidentally looked like an apology for a plumbing company. Life is dumb and delicious and will keep happening even when you want to pause the scene and demand a rewrite. That night, I turned my professional brain on myself. In therapy, progress is measured in millimeters. If I want my sister to stop using my child as content, I have to change the environment, make it less rewarding, more costly. I wrote an email because texts go feral. Hi, Mala. This is a written boundary so we all have clarity. Please do not post photos or videos of Ivy on any platform without explicit permission for each instance. Please do not reference Ivy's milestones online. If you cannot respect this, we will not attend events where phones are out. I love you. I love your kids. I want us to be close. This is how we can be. I cease at Aaron and my parents. Not to drag them. To make the room wider than her narrative. She wrote back in 10 minutes, which told me she had prepared a speech. You're making me out to be a monster, she began. I'm not exploiting anyone. I'm celebrating. This is how moms connect nowadays. She included 3 screenshots of comments that said, "Love this community." My stories help people, she wrote. People need to see real life. That's the thing, I replied. Ivy's real life isn't public property. There was a day of silence. Then a text from my mother. Can you come over tomorrow? All of you. We will try again. This is what mothers do when their daughters set the house on fire. They pull out the garden hose or light a cigarette, and either way they stand there. We went. She made lasagna, which in our family is apology and ceasefire. My father brought wine because he knows when the oils of a conversation need something to float on. Mala arrived with Junie and Theo and no phone in her hand. This felt like either hope or deceit. I decided to believe hope because it makes your posture better. We ate. The kids performed interpretive macaroni art. My mother cleared her throat like a judge. Here's how we're going to do this, she said. Rule 1. Ask before you share other people's children online. If the answer is no, respect it. Rule 2. No milestone stacking. If it's one kid's moment, it's their moment. Save your story for a different day. Rule 3. If you backslide, you own it, you fix it, and you don't call your sister dramatic in the doing. Mala folded her arms. That's rich from the woman who still tells the story of me wetting myself in first grade at every Thanksgiving. My mother nodded. I am learning, she said, surprising herself with the taste of the word. I'm old. But I can learn. I took down the Facebook album labeled Mala's Greatest Hits last night. It turns out not every moment is for alumni from my bowling league. We laughed because sometimes you have to lubricate repair with humor or the gears grind. Mala's mouth loosened. She tried. Fine, she conceded. I'll ask. She looked at me. But you have to stop talking to me like a committee. Deal, I said. I'll try fewer words. We shook on it over noodles. Here's what changed. Not everything. Enough. At the park, Mala took photos and sent them only to the family group chat. If she forgot and posted first, she deleted and wrote "my bad," which is not an apology but is a start. When Theo learned to actually jump with 2 feet, genuinely thrilling, the human body is a miracle, she told us without using Ivy as a compare and contrast chart. At Thanksgiving, she began to tell the story of Ivy's first steps at Auntie Mala's, and then caught herself and said, Lena's. At Lena's house. She grimaced like the word had gravel in it, and then we all moved on because sometimes love is letting people cringe toward you. And me? I stopped narrating every line as if I were writing the court transcript. I said no and yes and not for posting. I sent her a picture of Ivy covered in spaghetti sauce and captioned it, "For you only." She sent back a photo of Theo in a cape, not online, just to me, and wrote, "He jumped off the couch, we're working on it." We became sisters again in the DM while we kept practicing public. Months later, Ivy ran. I mean really ran, the kind of pump-armed full-body joy that makes neighbors cheer from porches. It wasn't at my house. It was at the farmer's market, chasing a balloon, her little sneakers slapping the world like she wanted it to memeize her. I could have filmed it. I didn't. I knelt and opened my arms and let the moment brand me from the inside. Later I called my sister and told her in too many words, and she said, "Send me the video," and I said, "I don't have one," and she was quiet and then said, "I love that for you." For us. If you're reading this with a tightness behind your eyes because someone in your family keeps trying to narrate your child with their own caption, here's what I can tell you from the intersections of medicine and motherhood and being a woman who has decided her life is not a reality show. Firsts belong to the people who lived them. They are not smaller because they are not shareable. I promise. Second, you don't owe anyone a dissertation for your boundary. No is an entire policy. Third, social media isn't evil, it's a megaphone. Decide what you want amplified. Fourth, kids are not content. They are biographies writing themselves, we are footnotes at best. Fifth, everybody can learn. Even mothers. Even sisters. Even you. I still help strangers stand up for a living. I put my hands on knees and say, "You have more in you," and I watch people rise an inch and feel like they've conquered a mountain. Ivy stands on playgrounds and yells, "Watch me," and I do, and sometimes I film it for grandparents who live far, and sometimes I don't because not every sunbeam needs a witness. Mala texts me recipes and jokes and occasionally a draft caption asking, "Is this okay?" I say yes as often as I can and no when I have to. At family dinners, when someone starts to pile a next thing on a first, my mother puts a hand up and says, "One at a time," and the room obeys slightly, beautifully. Theo still jumps off furniture. Ivy follows him because this is how cousins work. Once at my house, he took her hand to steady her on the steps. Mala saw it and didn't film. She just watched, and I watched her watching, and for a second the whole world did a perfect weight shift together. Then the kids galloped away and we cleaned up and someone turned on music and we danced, not for the grid, not for the comments, just for the part of us that remembers how to move toward each other without proof.